one thing that touched me when you talk about racism, as far as dealing with it from a social justice context, I remember when it was in '95, and when I was going to trial, before they brought me out to trial, they used to clear out all the smaller cases, and in the ceiling of the cell, they had a mic, so you could actually hear people's cases as they going on. Now, like, it was like one white dude that was in the cell with us. He had got caught with like 15 pounds of marijuana. They gave him 9 months. They gave a brother that literally got caught with a dime. And I thought he was lying till I saw his paperwork, but when it says .10, that's a dime. .10 of a gram of cocaine, they gave this brother 3 years. And I'm looking, cause I'm thinking from a New York state of mind, I'm like, they would have probably kicked you in the hind parts and said, get out of here. They wouldn't even wasted their time in even processing paperwork. So I saw the way that the judicial system had acted. Then when I started doing my going through the process of, I took a trial and all that, and I actually seen how hypocritical aspect of actual black person dealing with the justice system, that I knew that this is not going to be fair at all, especially I had a high profile case. So with that being said, I understand firsthand from an empirical perspective that, racism is live and direct, and black people do get sentenced differently, black people do get handled differently, and they all lie. The prosecutor lie, the judge lie, the lawyer lie, and you know what I mean? And they all in cahoots, and I wouldn't find that out until later on, because actually I was supposed to have my case dismissed because it actually was the speedy trial violation. I actually got brought to trial 4 days after they were supposed to bring me to trial based off of the Virginia Constitution. But I didn't know that at the time until I filed for ineffective assistance of counsel, and when I got the trial dockets, I seen a paperwork saying that I offsetted my trial date that I never did. I never was even at that court hearing. I've never signed the contract or any of these things that you're supposed to do for something like that to happen, because the trial date never was offset, because that was still the original trial date that I had. But they realized that they was outside of the time limit to actually try me under the speedy trial statute. And I was like, wow, and I fought my case for like 5 years. And on every level, from the state level, Supreme Court level, they went with these diabolical demons, because I was like, they kept saying I had a continuance. And anybody that know about the law, when you have a continuance, that means that your lawyer or the Commonwealth attorney, one of y'all asked for it, and y'all will be charged either against or for that speedy trial. Time limit. That's what a continuance state. I never had a continuance, but the Court of Appeals, they said that was a continuance. Then once I went to the federal level, they kicked my case out because they said that I was outside of the time limit based off of a bill Bill Clinton passed in '96 called the Anti-Terrorism Bill. Inside that anti-terrorism bill was a habeas corpus bill that became law, and it states that you only have 1 year to file your habeas corpus. But the thing is, you don't have 1 year. You have 1 year from the complete process after your appeal in the state level was turned down. But you got to file a state habeas before you file a federal habeas. So that time stops, but it's still dealing with, you still within that 1 year. Then I was on a compound that, some brothers, they tried to escape, which I didn't see nothing wrong with it. They was locked up. Why wouldn't they try to escape? So in the course of them trying to escape, they didn't make it, unfortunately. And they put the whole maximum security compound on hold status. So the whole compound was, they did the whole compound, like the whole compound was on segregation. That means that when we went to showers, Whenever they came to get us, which was every 3-4 days, they handcuffed me, they handcuffed my cell partner. They put, they had 2 rock wilders, and this is how they took us to the shower. We didn't get no wreck. They brought out food to us, and this went on for almost 90 days. So when they said that I was town barred, I was like, subject to the rules, but I didn't have adequate access to the lower library, that, you know, this shouldn't be held against me. And they said I was 120 days late. So instead of me coming home, possible at 25, you know, I came home at 39 and a half. So I saw it all through the way that, yo, this justice system, there's no such thing as justice for, you know, original people in this country. And I'm still a firm believer of that today, why I move how I move and I act how I act and I advocate how I advocate, because I understand what racism is, which, you know, when you actually define what racism is, it's a system of power where one group of people marginalize another group of people based off of policy and based off of their way of thinking, what's inside the policy. Because I don't have to say, I'm gonna put it in law, we gonna marginalize black people. They don't have to say that. They act that out. And we be the recipients because we be the ones that be marginalized. So when you know this stuff firsthand, you know, and I'm going through this stuff as a young man. Like, I was 20 years old facing life in 28 years in prison in a whole nother state that I don't have no family in. So, you know, so I'm like, you know, it's like, you know, you gotta man up, and I understood what was going on, but I understood better as I went through the process. And it fashioned my ideas. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, well, myself, I have a story similar to Mallah. We both were incarcerated, facing that process at a young age. He was 20, I was 19 years old when I, you know, went to entered this so-called justice system. And, you know, without getting into all the details, because like I said, a lot of it is similar. He was affected by the AEDPA, the Effective Death Penalty Act that was signed by Bill Clinton in the mid-90s. I was affected by it adversely as well during my habeas corpus process. The federal court, that's where habeas corpus is at, they reviewed the state court convictions to see if there was any constitutional violations, and they actually agreed with the argument that I presented, but they said that they were bound by the state's ruling because of that particular act. But not only was I affected by good old Bill Clinton's signing of that bill, but he also signed the crime bill. I think that might have been packaged in the crime bill back when Hillary was calling us, what they called us, predators, super predators, right? Super predators. They also signed a crime bill which spearheaded all the mandatory minimum sentences and the extended term penalties, and I was hit by both of those as well. I was 19 years old, first time I was ever sent to prison. So, and I received the entirety of my sentence was a 60 with a 21. And then even after I did the 21, which was a mandatory minimum, I did serve approximately like 18 months after that. So I served, you know, in total 23 years inside prison. That's the personal side of it. However, I think it's important that we understand that everything is put in place by the 13th Amendment of the United States, you know, Constitution, which was the Constitution that was said to abolish slavery, but it never abolished slavery. It says that you know, slavery should be abolished except if someone is duly convicted of a crime. You know, so they saying if you're convicted of a crime, it's okay for them to continue slavery. So it all works in conjunction, because we haven't mentioned yet the social conditions that I'm sure that me and Mallah, as well as the brother to my right, we all were subject to similar social conditions, whether it was the education system, who we were taught that we were, the religious system that's within our society, all of these different systems that are put in place are reflective of white supremacy, you know, because that's how this country was founded. It was founded on slavery, on slave labor. And in order to have slave labor, there had to be systems in place that all work towards that end. So and that never changed. Excuse me, that never changed. The systems have always, so the 13th Amendment and all the other systems and institutions within this nation are reflective of white supremacy. So what, our story though is bad and sad and miserable and traumatic, is really a common story all throughout the entire nation. And I like to try to, I strive to keep it in that context so that nothing really looks like it's out of whack. Like, this is how the system is supposed to operate. This is how it was designed to operate. Law enforcement itself was born out of the slave catchers and things like that. So, I mean, everything is going according to plan. And until one realizes that, which is a process and a transition and a transformation in itself, everything else won't really make a lot of sense until you look at things in a clear, realistic perspective. And then it all starts to make sense. And so I'll pass the baton over to the brother, but that's a little bit about myself.